Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Anis Natasha Joani. I would like to introduce our mini project group title, Comparison of Student Expense between Students Stay in Hostel and Students that Stay off Campus. Next, this is our group members. Our project background: students that further their study to higher education mostly have to move from their birth state to another state where their higher education institution is located. When students move away from their house, they have to be independent and they need to learn to manage their finance wisely because of the cost of living. Students have option whether they want to stay in hostel or off campus. This study was conducted on upstate students. Usually, students can opt out of in-campus accommodation after 1 year of compulsory stay in the hostel in first semester of the course. Next, the objective. First, find the difference of expense between students who stay at the hostel and students who stay off campus. Second, to discover factors that influence student expense who stay in hostel and off campus. Third, to collect data and study about statistics of students' expense. Fourth, to find the significant impact of student expense in their daily life. Next, hypothesis. For hypothesis null, students staying hostel spend less than students staying off campus. For hypothesis alternative, students staying off campus spend less than students staying hostel. Next, for project scope, an online survey using Google Form has been used to collect data. Our target is overseas students, and for the sample size, we conduct a survey of students' expense on a sample of 60 students, where about 30 respondents from the sample are students who stay in hostel, another 30 respondents from the sample stay off campus. This research is a correlational quantitative design employing the test of variable students who stay in hostel and off campus, which is independent variables, and the difference of expense between students who stay at the hostel and students who stay off campus for dependent variables.
So for my part, I will be doing on data analysis for first two questionnaire. So the first one will be questionnaire on food, expenses of food, and then the second one will be expenses of book and supplies. So under the food expenses, we have three questions, which is the first one is students spend their money on buying grocery. Second, students spend their money on ordering food delivery. And then the third one will be students spend their money buying food at restaurant. The pie chart shows students stay in hostels spend less in buying grocery than students stay off campus. Calculated value of correlation is 0.33, which indicate a weak positive correlation between students stay in hostel and also students stay off campus. Next, the pie chart of food delivery. The pie chart shows students stay in hostel spend less than students stay off campus in ordering food delivery. Calculated value of ordering food delivery is 0.48, which indicate moderate positive correlation between students stay in hostel and also students stay off campus. The pie chart of buying food at restaurants shows students stay in hostels spend more than students stay off campus. The calculated value of correlation is 0.16, which indicate weak positive correlation between students stay in hostel and students stay off campus. So the next question will be on expenses, book and supplies. We provide two questions, which is buying stationery and also printing document. The pie chart of buying stationery shows students stay in hostels spend less in buying stationery than students stay off campus. The calculated value of correlation for buying stationery is 0.369, which indicate weak positive correlation between students stay in hostel and also students stay off campus. The pie chart of printing document shows students stay in hostel spend less than students stay off campus. The calculated value of correlation is 0.471, which indicate a moderate positive correlation between students stay in hostel and also students stay off campus.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ada Farzana binti Abdullah and I would like to present about expense for housing. For the first question, I spend my money in paying house rental every month. Okay, this is the table and the pie chart. For the data, the mean for students stay in hostel, X is 1.57 and mean for students who stay off campus, Y is 4.2. For the result, the covariance of X and Y is 2.99, so the division of X is 4.38 and so the division of Y is 15.55. The correlation is 0.04. For the conclusion, the correlation coefficient of the data collected for paying rental every month is 0.04, which indicates no correlation between the expenses of students staying in hostel and students stay off campus. The second question is I pay hostel fee per semester. This is the table and the pie chart. For the data, mean for students who stay in hostel X is 4.57 and mean for students who stay off campus Y is 2.77. The covariance of X and Y is 7.91 and standard deviation of X is 90.94, standard deviation of Y is 8.50 and the correlation is 0.04. Therefore, the correlation coefficient of the data collected for paying hostel fee per semester is 0.04, which indicates a moderate correlation between the expenses of students who stay in hostel and students who stay off campus. Okay, next question is I spend money in paying utility bill. This is the table and the pie chart. For the data, mean students stay in hostel X is 1.87 and mean students stay off campus Y is 4.37. For the covariance of X and Y is 21.80. Standard deviation of X is 4.39 and standard deviation of Y is 70.26. The correlation is 0.29. For the completion, the correlation coefficient of the data collected for paying utility bills is 0.29, which indicates a weak positive correlation between expenses of students staying in hostel and students stay off campus. Next is the expenses for transportation. First question is I spend money in booking per bed. This is the table and the pie chart. For the data, the mean student stay in hostel X is 3.12 and mean for students stay off campus Y is 3.47. For the result, covariance of X and Y is for 0.79 and the derivation of X is 8.56 and the derivation of Y is 9.99. The correlation is 0.477. For the conclusion, the correlation coefficient of the data collected for booking private is 0.477, which indicates a moderate positive correlation between the expenses of students who stay in hostel and students who stay off campus. Next, second question for expense transportation is I am using bus. This is the table and the pie chart. For the data, the mean for students who stay in hostel X is 3.7 and the mean for students who stay off campus is 4.07. For the result, covariance of X and Y is 107.5. Standard deviation of X is 14.28. Standard deviation of Y is 15.43. The correlation is 0.488. Okay, for the completion, the correlation coefficient of the data collected for using bus is 0.488, which indicates a moderate positive correlation between the expenses of students who stay in hostel and students who stay off campus. The last question for expense for transportation is I spend money filling gas if have own transportation. This is the table and the pie chart. For the data, mean for students who stay in hostel X is 1.8 and mean for students who stay off campus Y is 2.13. For the result, covariance X and Y for this question is negative 0.14. Standard deviation of X is 4.78 and standard deviation of Y is 5.14. The correlation is negative 0.01. Okay, for the conclusion for this question is the correlation coefficient of the data collected for money filling gas if on transportation is negative 0.01, which indicates there's no correlation between the expenses of students who stay in hostel and students who stay off campus. Okay, that's all for me.
As for the other spending, we prepared two questions, which is online shopping and club t-shirt purchasing. As for the online shopping, we can see from the pie chart that students who stay in hostels spend more than students staying off campus. The calculated correlation value for the online shopping is 0.43, which indicates a moderate positive correlation. For purchasing club uniforms, the pie chart clearly shows that students staying in hostels spends more than students staying off campus. The calculated correlation value of purchasing club t-shirts is 0.436, which also indicates a moderate positive correlation. The survey also conducted to understand the effects of student spending in their daily life. The first question asked in this part is whether their monthly allowance is enough for them or not. The percentage of off-campus students who agree with this point is significantly higher than the percentage of hostel students who agree with this point. The next question is whether the students need part-time job to manage their monthly expenses. For this statement, both parties equally agree. This means both parties need a part-time job to manage their monthly allowances. The third question of this part is whether the students need to do planning for their monthly expenses. Students stay in hostel agree to this statement more than off-campus students.
According to the findings and calculations, we came to a conclusion that we should accept the null hypothesis, which is students in hostels spend significantly less than students staying off campus. Our hypothesis is supported by the correlation value which we counted for each question. The counted correlation value shows that the hostel student expenses and off-campus student expenses have moderate to no correlation. This indicates that there is significantly larger difference between their expenses. This concludes that the students in hostel spend significantly less than students staying off campus.